Government here announcing it's going to be bad. The latest unemployment figures, they've come out and, well, frankly, they are bad, aren't they?
That's true. Le Figaro says they're even terrible. It's on the front page today. Le choc, 3 million unemployed. It's shocking, according to Le Figaro. They say that it's a symbolic and psychological threshold because even though we were waiting for this figure, it's still dizzying. It's been 13 years since France had such a high unemployment. Now, in their editorial, Le Figaro says the alarm bells are ringing. This unemployment issue is going to poison François Hollande's term as president, according to the right-leaning newspaper. And what he needs to do is reverse 3 decades of blindness within the government. That's what they say, 3 decades of blindness. And it says that the reason that France's unemployment is so high is because of the crisis, of course, but also because of France's own weaknesses. And it points out that some of those weaknesses are the high cost of hiring in France, the fact that taxes are so high, the fact that bureaucracy and rules are complicated. All this means that companies don't want to hire so much and also lowers their competitiveness. So according to Le Figaro, what needs changing, in fact, is France's socialist model.
Okay, another story you pulled out in Le Parisien. This is taking a closer look at France's members of parliament and transparency.
That's right. It's on the front page of Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien today. It says that concerning transparency and compensation, are our members of parliament exemplary? And this comes as the president of the Assemblée nationale, so the lower house of parliament here in France, Claude Barthelone, he announced that he was going to cut the allowances that France's MPs get by 10%. Now, this is a symbolic gesture that he says he wants that for MPs to participate in this time of crisis, to show an example. Now, Le Parisien says that this is great, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of transparency because, as you can see in this article, Barthelone himself has just hired his wife to be his parliamentary assistant. Now, Barthelone says he doesn't see that there's any problem here. There's no conflict of interest for him because, they've already worked together. That's what he says. And so he says that it's not so much that he hired his wife so much as married his colleague. But as you can imagine, it's drawn a lot of criticism and some jokes from the right. For instance, one MP tweeted that at least this is good news for unemployment because it means one last job seeker on the market.
Very nicely put. Now, a 13-year legal battle now that's kind of gripped France, really, coming to an end.
That's right. This is in Les Echos, the business daily. Now, the legal battle in question concerns the Erika oil spill back in 1999. Now, that caused a major environmental disaster, polluting shores in Brittany. Now, the ship that was involved was chartered by Total, and France's final appeals court, the Cour de Cassation, has ruled that Total was indeed guilty and responsible for the tragedy, and Total has been sentenced to 375,000 euros as well as 200 million euros in damages. Now, Total's legal defense team says that they will maybe appeal this at the European Court of Human Rights. But what's interesting is that this sets a precedent. Several newspapers are exploring this today. For instance, Les Echos looks at one consequence, which is that the environment has been granted the status of a victim in the law. And now this means that the law will have to be rewritten, and this could have impacts on other cases. Libération, meanwhile, looks at another consequence of this case, which basically it's going to shake up maritime law. According to Libération, it sends an important message to people who are shipping oil. It's probably going to change the way oil is shipped, and it's also the end of a certain impunity in oil shipping.
Okay, and finally, just mention a story in Le Monde. This is about a sad story that's coming out of Angola, actually.
That's right. This is a tragic story about a theater in Luanda called the Ealing Theater. Now, once upon a time, it was a cultural hotspot, but it's about to be torn down and wiped off the face of the earth by bulldozers. And unfortunately, Le Monde points out this is a common fate for old buildings in the Angolan capital. Now, Luanda is the second most expensive city in the world after Tokyo. I did not know that at all. Now, it draws real estate promoters who are eager to make a quick buck off the oil-rich nation. Now, according to this article, the capital is basically one big construction site, and unfortunately, it's losing a lot of the treasures that it had, such as the Ealing Theater.
Does sound a shame, doesn't it, France? Thanks very much. France with the international paper. The French papers. You're on France 24. Here's the headlines again for you then. The